All right, what's up, guys? This is Live at the Bike PokerCraft. This is D22-soso Wayne Chiang. This is my guest, Chris Brewer, who's been on Live at the Bike 4 times. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 times.
And just played in the $1 million cash game 4.0. We're going to have a couple of hands of his to talk about at the end. But first, let's get to know Chris. Want to tell your story?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I went to high school in San Diego, grew up in San Diego. Uh, Never played any poker, didn't know anything about it.
Sure.
No,
Just
no,
kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah. Um, then, yeah, I got a track scholarship to University of Oregon.
Sick.
While I was out there, we played a few home games with one of the first person I ever played poker with is this guy Hassan Mead. He made the Olympic team in the 10K, so
Cool.
cool little. But we played like a $5 buy-in tournament, and I thought it was fun. I was like the end of my freshman year, and started playing at like a 1-2 cold room in Eugene.
Oregon.
From that point on, yeah. So I played 1-2 for 5 years in college.
No, I mean, we all start from the bottom,
Yeah,
right?
it was rake free, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a big
yep.
thing.
Yeah,
Because
no rake in Oregon.
when were you in San Diego?
I was in. So I graduated high school in 2011.
2011. Okay, so I was actually in San Diego when you
Okay.
were there.
Yep.
I went to UC San Diego, and as you know, the Indian casinos there are 18 and over.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
start us early. Back when I started, um, the drop was $3, and it was no flop, no drop. So
Way better than now.
yeah, and the games were a lot easier back then, and it was started with in the Bay Area it was 7 card stud, but then in San Diego it was mainly limit hold'em and high low stud.
Dude, it's gone the rake in San Diego now. It's what is it? It's $1 before the flop, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, and then
that's it.
I think it's 6+1 and 5-5.
Total.
Yeah, so you end
Yeah.
up dropping $7 every
Yeah,
game.
no, that's what it is here. It's just, times change.
Yeah.
It's so much tougher now. You just start from the bottom. But, um, so you probably played at like Oceans and all
Yeah,
that. Oceans 11.
so I moved back after I spent 5 years in college because I redshirted a track season. So after I graduated, which
Sure.
was yeah, no, I actually was just
Just
failing all
kidding,
my math
kidding.
classes. After I graduated, came back
You're like,
to
just
San Diego.
ask me questions about 52 cards. Anything else, just forget it. It's not even useful in life, right?
Exactly. No, I mean, I do remember like I definitely got obsessed with poker in college. Like, I would just like be sitting in like business classes with my laptop up, just like reading 2+2.
Oh, really? What was your name on there? Do you not want to?
I was just Cebu.
Oh, you see,
Yeah,
okay.
nothing.
All right, check out his post on
Yeah,
2+2.
no, my they're tragic.
What?
Like,
Uh-oh.
my posts, like they'll, I mean, they're all from like when I was like just beginning. So
That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
one of my buddies just like sent me a 2+2 post from Doug Polk in like the early 2010s. He's like, I'm just like, I'm broke. I keep
Oh,
like
I've
trying
seen
to.
that
Yeah,
one, yeah.
exactly. He was having trouble too. And
that one's epic actually for how
Yeah.
sick he ended up being.
Right,
He's
exactly.
Like, he was talking about how he's like 22 tabling like 10-cent poker and can't win.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So when did you meet Sean Snyder? Because he's obviously a good buddy of mine. I have him on
When
here
did
as well.
I think the first time I know the first time I ever played with him was with I don't know if I should say it. Well, it was with Billy.
Okay, I know.
Yeah,
Who apparently I know, but I can't remember as well.
yeah. So
Let's see if people could put 2+2 together. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So, but it was Billy came in with Sean, and I had no clue who it was. And I ended up there was some hand I stacked Sean in. I think this was like into 2017,
2007. Okay.
and Sean bluffed with
That's like recent. Yeah.
yeah. No, Sean bluffed with 6-5 on 4-4-3, and I had ace-4. But it was like for a lot
Okay.
of blinds, and I was giving him a really hard time. I said, well, at least you had the best 6. I was like, you could have beat 6 too. I was just giving him a hard time, and then I think he found it pretty funny, and we
Well,
started talking after that.
It's also because he plays mixed game too. So
Yeah.
like a 6 and ace to 5 ain't so bad, or Baduki.
Yeah,
you know?
he had a great low draw.
Exactly. So these are all the hardcore poker jokes that
Yeah.
you guys who just watch No Limit Hold'em may not get yet. But don't worry, you guys will get there. So you're basically, I think you told me you were No Limit PLO. Do you do anything else?
Not really. There's a big O game that runs at Oceans that's like 5-5 sometimes. That
Yeah, Sean told me about that. He
yeah,
plays in that.
yeah. Sean and I just sit there and fold a lot of hands. hope that we get dealt an ace and a two.
What about the rest of the field? How do they play?
Um, they used to play a lot worse. Like
Okay.
when I sit there now, people, I would say like maybe they play a few hands they shouldn't pre-flop, but then like they see a flop and they play pretty fine. I really don't have like I'm also bad at the game, so I don't.
Well, if you start with an ace and a deuce, it can't be that
Yeah,
bad, right?
that was my strategy. But it was really good for like a month.
Hey, a month is a long time for
Yeah.
some games. Is Ken still there? The floor guy?
No.
You know who I'm talking about, though.
No, I'm not Oh, wait, I think I do.
He used to be a Sequan. That's when I first started
Okay.
off.
I've
Anyway,
never
he
been
went
to Sequan.
Oceans. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
there's probably no reason to anymore.
yeah.
Have you been to Brona?
Yeah, I've been to Bona. They used to have a 5-10 game. It died now, but
Wow. So when I started, it was like all low stakes. Like 8-16 was a
yeah.
big game. But they used to have single deck blackjack. Did you hear about this story?
I know the guy that used to like bank all the blackjack, and he would told me like some crazy Bona stories.
Oh well, I got barred after a week there.
Well,
The
there you
single
go.
deck.
No, he told me. So there was some. Oh, what was the story? So there was like a promo for the blackjack. So something like
They needed a promo.
well, no, they had some rules. So like the casinos at the time could only collect like so much money. Like
Right.
so they
Yeah.
actually had to give back money.
Yeah.
So they would do something. It was called they would do an open deck blackjack. Like you could just see the dealer's hand. It was like a 2-hour promo. So this
2 hours. Oh, that's
and it
pretty
was
good.
this guy. He was like the corporation before the corporation.
Right.
And he would get him and every one of his friends. And he would just get there at like 6 a.m. in the morning, right before they started the promo. Of
course.
They would lock up every table.
Sure.
They would like play through the night to make sure the tables were locked, and then they'd be playing face-up blackjack for 2 hours, just basically stealing money from the casino.
That's pretty awesome. See, guys, these are all these stories that even I don't know. This is
Yeah.
why I have all these guests, because we got to cover a lot of ground in the gambling world.
Yeah.
So, what are the highest stakes no limit you play?
100, 200 is as big as I've ever played.
So the $1 million cash game was 100, 100, 200 with a 200 big blind
Yeah,
ante,
yeah.
which is
Yeah, so technically that's the biggest. I've played 100, 200 heads up before, and then I've played 51 a lot of times.
Are you allowed to talk about your heads up 100, 200?
Probably not too much.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
there you go. That's why I have to be polite and ask, because we
yeah.
know some things may not be kosher.
Yep.
What about PLO?
PLO, I think biggest I've played is like 25-50. I'm significantly worse at PLO, so I have to.
Well,
play a
so
lot.
is the entire field,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, but I managed to dip even lower. I just like it's just so hard to fold a hand, you know?
I know, no, we know. It's just like,
Yeah.
especially when you're a little bit emotionally compromised, a lot of not so
Yeah.
good hands start looking, playable
like-
and stuff.
I have like bottom pair and like fifth nut flush draw. Where am I supposed to go?
I was joking about with Sean. I'm like, on the broadcast, I'll be like, yeah, when you're on tilt and you start playing the
Yeah.
king queen 6-6 double suited. I'm like, it's like that's gonna lose you. Either win you a small pot or lose you a lot of money.
I wish I could say that was the worst hand I ever.
No. But then, like, the audience who's not that familiar with PLO, they may not understand. They're like, "Well, you can flop a set. You can make a second nut flush, third nut flush. You can make the nut straight." It's like, yeah, as we know in poker and love, second best is the biggest loser.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I'm not active in the high stakes scene. I used to be more active. What's the high stakes scene like now?
I feel like those like two separate because those like the super high stakes, which
What
is,
the nosebleed? Yeah,
Yeah.
super nosebleed.
which is like it's all like semi-private at this point.
Right.
Like getting into the games is like all politics.
Yeah.
And I'm not involved in that. Like I've never.
no.
Nah,
We
I
always have to do this stuff. We
Yeah.
always have to joke around.
But I mean, I think I feel like now it's like anything 20-40 or up is kind of like the higher stakes
stakes.
and the
Yeah.
limit.
Yeah, I agree.
And those like, there's obviously like people who just play for fun.
Yeah.
And then along like the winning players, there's like two groups, which is like the group that's obsessed with money.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can like tell the people so quick. Like,
course.
they have to be in a good game. They have to be in the right seat. Everything has to be perfect for them to play.
Yeah.
And then there's like the other group, which is like the people that just like love playing.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, I like the people that like playing a lot
Of course,
more.
yeah. I mean, you definitely put Sean
Yeah.
and me and, most of the high stakes people in that category. But it's just like, times get tough and just like, reality hits you. So
Yeah.
you're like, you got to choose what life you're going to live. And how old are you?
I'm 26.
So yeah, you're still young and sharp. But like, when you get older, you kind of just like, yeah, I'm kind of through this, and
I do feel like no one battles really anymore.
yeah.
Like, there's a little bit, but
So like,
there's not like epic battle stories really.
right, like you mentioned, you played 100, 200 heads up no limit. I never played heads up
Yeah.
no limit that big, but in my era in commerce, I would just play 99% of the people heads up. I'd just be
Yeah.
I actually never refused anyone, but there's some people like Sean Snyder, who just like why would we play
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
friends? Yeah.
Yeah, I would never play any friends heads. Like anyone who's a close
Yeah,
friend heads up,
exactly.
never.
So I would say I would just play like 99% of the people, and even people who are like really proficient. We just in the beginning we're like, oh yeah, let's battle. Then we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, just like like Big Bob K and I, like he's a very good poker player, but I'm just like, okay, we'll just like chill out a little bit,
Yeah.
And we just like tend to start and stop like whatever games running at that time. But like one of the things that's in broadcast is tough for the audience to see is that the high stakes scene is not all no limit. It's actually
No, definitely not.
yeah,
I would say, I mean, the highest stakes scene's all mix.
yeah, mixed
Like
games,
at Bobby's Room, they don't play no limit ever.
right.
And then PLO is now like,
The next
yeah,
level, and then limit hold'em actually is more popular than no limit.
yeah,
200 400 runs almost every day in LA.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think like the biggest regular no limit games I know of that I'll run are like the ones at Alia and
How
what
big are
used to be
those?
Ivy's Room, and I think it's like 1-2 with an ante or something.
Okay,
Or
I
like
mean
live
that's big.
Yeah, it's big, but
Yeah.
like it's not the the 1K, 2K
Right.
big bet mix that goes all summer.
Yeah, and live with the bike, it's if the Friday game wasn't running, like the high stakes scene is pretty much dry for no limit in the
Yeah.
public area.
Yeah, there's a Carmel runs 2040 to 5000, once a
During
week.
like once a week. Yeah, okay.
Well,
That's
2040 once a week, 51 maybe
Okay.
once every other week or something.
Yeah,
And-
because when I was active, even 2040, it's like when the phone call or the phone calls go out and the guy comes in, he's like short buying, like $4,000 in 2040. It's like right.
yeah, I think
So
HG has some games now, but I never play there. So
yeah, so then you're probably a bit too young, but like 7 card stud high stakes was actually bigger than no limit for a while even too.
Does anyone play stud ever?
No, now it's dead. But
Yeah, yeah.
as of like I don't even know how many few years ago, like a 100 or 200 runs every day except for Sunday, and
Yeah.
then sometimes 200 400 runs. I actually played Barry Greenstein plays here now. I used to play with
Okay.
him in that game. What are the names like? What I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
like recognizable people in that game that battle 7 card stud and in the mix. So you travel up to LA.
Yeah, so I live in San Diego still.
Yeah.
I lived in Huntington Beach for a year and
You didn't
was
like
close. So I liked it, but for like at the time I wasn't running or being active, which I started doing again. And I just like the running a lot better in San Diego, and I have a lot of my family and most of my friends are down there, so it's a better spot for me to live for like
Is
general
Sean your
happiness.
friend? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Sean's my friend.
Yeah, and I showed you the podcast with him, and it's just
Yeah.
very obvious, like who has a rapport, and we go back almost 15 years, maybe
Yeah.
even 15
Oh,
years.
he's one of the most fun guys to just talk about
Oh yeah,
anything
absolutely.
with.
Yeah,
He's very clever.
yeah, and yeah, that's the thing, because like before I was in such a hurry to get to LA, like before I even graduated from UCSD, I moved to Santa Monica, and I don't know, you didn't play online back then, no?
No, I first I played online was so when I was a junior or senior in college, I won a tournament on Ignition, so that was like 2015 or something.
Allegedly, none of us played, but when we were underage.
Yeah. I was actually 21 though.
Okay.
Yeah, I never played underage.
Don't worry, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus that I might know.
Yep.
But I moved to Santa Monica before I even graduated, and I just commuted down for the finals and midterms. But I was like in Santa Monica next to the beach.
Yeah.
It's a nice building, but there was an even more baller building. I don't know if you know who Green Dragon is.
No, I don't.
She was like, well, we didn't know it was a she,
Okay.
but like, she would be on PokerStars and she would just like play heads up
Yeah.
and like bum hunt people.
Yeah.
And it's shout out to Karen. Anyway, she was in the baller building, and while like you said, like
Hunting's profitable.
yeah, exactly, like battling people like died down. She was the smart one, and she just like super game selected heads
Yeah.
up, and then a lot of us stubborn guys would just like battle each other high stakes, and not everyone survives.
Yeah.
But everyone's just like much the wiser now, and this is real life, and as long as you're doing well and making a living, like in this era, is like it's more about like the intelligence of handling the environment.
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah. I agree.
And also like I warned these young Thundercats like one of these days you'll be as old as me, and one of these other days you're gonna be as old as Barry Greenstein. So I'm just like, there's we've been there, and then we just like adjust to whatever. But like in this day and age, what's studying like for like no limit and PLO? There's obviously talk about like solvers, and you have to have peers and
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's just like having a good friend group that you talk to.
right,
Most improvement or like knowledge I've got is just like
talking with smart people.
yeah, people that are smarter than me.
Yeah.
This like there's like the Isaac Newton quote or whatever, which is like if I've seen fall those because I've like stood on the shoulder of giants.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's how I feel like with poker. It's just like find people not and don't like befriend them because you want information. That's
Yeah, yeah.
the worst thing. I can't stand people that like do
Right.
that. But if you have friends that are better than you, like listen to them and be open to hearing new ideas or hearing that you suck.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, no. I mean, to be honest, like I feel guilty about asking Dan Zach questions because
Yeah,
he's just so much more studied than me. But
yeah,
like sometimes I just come up with something and it's just like it's a legitimate question and I can
yeah,
use it on broadcast and it doesn't like throw anyone under the bus and
yeah.
then I feel like that's okay. So I mean, do you play Omaha 8 or better?
Uh, Small amount, but
So basically, a hand came up a couple weeks ago. This will be
yeah.
aired at a later time, so I don't know how much earlier it is. But I had Ace 4, 7, 8, Ace 4 clubs under the
Okay.
gun, seven handed in 08.
I mean, I would fold, but I don't know if
I know
yeah.
I folded,
Okay.
but like in 2019, I thought about it for a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I'm like, maybe this is like borderline, and then Dan Zach ran it through the solvers, and it's actually a raise,
Okay. Yeah,
which is
I
doesn't
wouldn't.
surprise us, but it's borderline either way.
See, that's
Um,
why like, I know I'm so bad that
yeah.
I'm just like, well, it does have an ace in it too, so we'll get this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
away.
No, no. I mean, that's the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
like even a year ago, I probably wouldn't have thought twice and just
yeah,
like turbo mucked it. But it's 2019, and we've seen you probably a lot more than me like solver work,
yeah,
and I was just like, okay, there's a lot of intuitive stuff that is actually not true or just like it's not revealed yet.
yeah.
But if you run the computer simulations for millions and billions of hands, then the answer comes out. But Dan said he would also recommend folding pre because the hand plays is just difficult to play
Yeah.
at one out of position, two having ace four versus even ace three and especially ace two. But obviously the nut flush draw component is a big thing. And the thing that caught my eye is more like, what if it was ace four, six, seven? That makes a big difference between ace four, seven, eight, because
Yeah.
if you make the wheel, you also have the six or seven high
Yeah,
straight too.
that makes sense.
Right. So like after you have enough experience and you like start thinking about, it, I'm like, oh, then think, and then like having the eight top pair is not irrelevant either. Just like so many things that you think about after you have more experience in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like in my era, there wasn't much solvers. Like I talked to Sean, and Sean on 2+2 was how
Yeah.
many? One of his many names.
Yeah. Sean's like the Twitty account too. Yeah.
He's a multi-counter
Yeah.
on 2+2.
Yeah, just because he forgets his password.
No, is that the reason? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's the
Okay.
reason. I think he might say other ones, but
No, I don't know. I mean, I know he and I are so open and laid back and just like
yeah,
whatever that we're just like we both went broke around 2013, in which I'm sure most people didn't think we would ever go broke, but we just got so arrogant from online, and after Black
yeah,
Friday hit and blah blah, then it was a very common occurrence for a lot of people that we didn't understand the variance of live poker, and now we've recovered and it's kind of like we're older and wiser and there's different paths, and you young Thundercats are still excited about the game, which if you hear my and Sean's podcast, we're so like old men, we're like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool, but we're kind of cool playing these lower stakes. And
Sean also, it's like that's his stick though. Like Sean likes stuff more than he gives off.
no, like he and I know each other well
Yeah.
enough, and we just joke about it because we
Yeah.
used to be way more,
Oh, yeah, I believe
way
that.
more analytical and stuff and compare stuff. And he's self-proclaimed used to be one of the best limit holding players. But that's the thing is like we study so many games, we can go a lot of different directions. So what might have caught some people off surprise is televised poker is mostly no limit tournaments and no limit cash games. But then when you come on the live scene, it's like, whoa, that's not necessarily.
I mean, full TV, I think no limits by
Oh,
far.
absolutely.
Because like,
Everything else is unwatchable.
yeah,
Like,
like even PLO, when you watch it on stream, it's just like, oh, they'll get in a flip again. Like no limit gets the like when you like looking like for that soul read moment.
Yeah,
That's like what it gets, which is
and
why it's a
just
cool game.
like when we are playing No Limit Live, the other guy tanking is annoying,
Yeah.
but the viewer finds it exciting. So there's like a different,
Oh, for sure.
perspective. And then PLO is like if you don't have enough background on the
It's hard to
game,
translate to
yeah.
someone. Yeah.
So that's what I do on broadcast here is I try to put limit hold'em and no limit or limit hold'em and PLO into no limit terms, so they kind of get it. But there's only so much you could do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you agree. Like learning the other games actually helps your no limit
Oh,
game
for
too.
sure.
Yeah. The pronounced concept in PLO is like when it's like ace 9 4 two clubs, but the ace is not a club. In PLO, you're very wary that somebody could have ace X of clubs in their
Yeah.
hand, whereas in no limit, I don't know. I used to just be like, I have a flush draw, whatever, and then you're just like, okay, this guy could have ace X of that suit, and then I'm in big trouble.
I think PLO also gets you. This I don't know if this is like a strategy thing, but it makes you like comfortable with that. Sometimes like it is just correct to get your money in, even if it's not like, even if you're losing most of the time, which like is obviously like such simple math. But in no limit, I think it because like a lot of times it's like 80-20 or 90-10. It's a lot more like, well,
Pronounced,
do I have the best hand or not? So I'm gonna fold. But then like PLO, you do get comfortable. You're like, well,
Yeah,
hey,
he
sometimes
has
you
what he has, you
yeah,
have what you have.
sometimes
It's
you
a
just gotta
cooler,
put money in. And
right? I mean,
C5.
that's probably more like tournaments in no
Yeah.
limit. Like you just at certain point in the tournament, you're like, oh, gotta go with this
Yeah,
hand.
Scott Blumstein has a funny one. He says he's the master of the C5 strategy.
Which is
Is put it in C5.
I don't get.
So you put all the money in and you C5 calls.
Oh,
He says he's one of the best C5 players
oh,
around.
I thought you said seat five. I didn't get it. It was
No.
C5. Yeah, it makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense.
Yeah.
All right, he's Chris's jokes. What do you have in store for poker in the future then?
Probably just keep playing No Limit for a while. I still I love playing. I think it's fun. And if it ever stops being fun, I'd go do something different. That's like a huge thing for me. I just want to enjoy whatever I'm doing.
It's funny because I know a few people in your generation too, and and now there's just the high stakes. You're at kind of the tail end of just being like, oh, it's time to do something else. So, how long have you known John Cohen?
So I've known John for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's it? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't like enter back into like any real poker world until I was 23
Oh, okay.
because I was in college in Eugene. Yeah, John's from San Diego though, so I
Yeah.
met him at Oceans, and then I've played with him a bunch of commerce.
Yeah, I mean, he looks familiar. I must have played with him back in the day. I just like,
Yeah, John's been around forever.
yeah, we see some, and I was in San Diego for a while, so
Yeah.
must have crossed paths somewhere. And if we played each other online, who the hell knows who the other screen name is, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything about John's online pass.
Yeah,
But
well-
no, he's been playing live at commerce for as long as.
The thing is, it's hard for people to get. Okay, I mean, I don't want to like say this is an absolute, but having extensive online experience really helps because you see so many hands, and then live poker and online poker play very differently. So you just make these like small adjustments, realize that you're giving off tells, your opponent giving off tells, and you just adjust as much as you can, and then kind of go from there. So yeah, let's go into your hands on Live the Bike.
Uh,
So there's the $1 million cash game 4.0.
Looks like I traded chips though.
Looks like you what?
I grabbed chips off Doppo's stack.
Didn't you?
I gave him the whites is what it is, but it looked funny. The video just stalls to be grabbing.
Whoa, 2+2 post.
Yeah.
MVG. So it's full to you on the button. You got eights, and you raised up. And I noticed like your raising size was pretty small compared to what normally is. Like before this hand, like you had you raised 500 pre.
Yeah.
It was like 1-1-2 with a 200 big blind ante. That's like 500 to win. Like
Yeah.
600. So Garrett defends ace 10 off, and then check to you.
I think pretty normal spot.
Normal
to bet.
spot, yeah.
I should have the best hand a ton, and
And
he definitely doesn't have to. He can call with Wolves, and I'm not that sad if he folds like King Queen.
of course, 500 and 1600. So your bet sizes are so small.
Yeah. I'm probably just gonna bet a lot of hands, so can't bet too big.
And then Garrett's strategy is inducing the bluff. He's
Yeah.
also way ahead, way behind.
Yeah, I think his play makes sense. He could raise too. Either one's gonna be fine, and it's you just probably want to do both.
Right.
I think it's close on the tone for me here.
Yeah.
I'd probably check with high or pails. Like
Yeah, so
if I had
they're
like queens,
less vulnerable.
yeah, if I had
Yeah.
queens or kings, I'd probably be checking. But
Yeah.
with eights, it's close because he'll have like nines and still call. But
Yeah.
I can also get called by a two, fives or six or whatever. I think it's a really close spot and doesn't matter much.
Right. That's a lot of these things. Like
Yeah,
when you analyze these hands, and of course, he tries to induce a bluff in the small chance that you might be blasting off.
yeah. No, you can definitely be bluffing here, just not with this hand.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, I do think when you're saying like a lot of these spots, people will focus on these like really close decisions,
Which is like either
and they
way.
just don't matter.
Right. No, I totally agree.
It's like a way bigger deal if you just call on a spot you should always fold.
Yeah.
Then like
That's not good.
betting eights or checking eights, it just doesn't matter.
Right. So this was actually one of the more interesting hands
Yeah.
you played, which is you have under the gun 10-9 of clubs. You raise it up, and this what we were talking about 500. The blinds are
Yeah.
total 600. And Dapo, shout out to Dapo, Denver environmental engineer. He smooths with jacks. in the
Yeah, which
cutoff.
was surprising. He'd
Right.
I definitely didn't expect him to have jacks here.
So so you removed that kind of from his range. What did you think his flatting range was? in the cutoff?
I thought he would have like a lot of middle suited hands because he had raised me a decent amount, so I thought most of the like hands with two Broadway or most of the good pails are getting raised. Mm-hmm. But I thought it'd be like a lot of middle calls,
Right.
and then like all the pocket pails. I think tens will blow. I was kind of expecting, and tens could raise.
So that's relevant to this flop
Yeah.
because, middling cards could include trip sixes, and technically your 10 high might be good against middling cards.
Yeah, and I just think that like he's not going to fold much when I bet, which isn't going to be great for me.
Right.
I'm just going to be stuck out of position against a guy who's going to play me pretty tough.
Right.
And then on the turn,
If you
since
check,
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I should win. I can fold him off like queen high.
And then he pops you,
Yeah, I
which
know.
would that shock
This
you?
is just a disaster.
Right.
This is just the most frustrating thing in the
And
world.
he stares at you too. Oh my gosh, this guy's
Yeah.
above the rim.
No, I mean, it's like such. And
You look so sad. You're like, oh my god, you got outplayed.
and then the sizing is so frustrating too.
It's
It's
3x.
like,
Three,
well,
a little more
like,
than 3x.
I thought he could one be bluffing or just have like sevens or something like my 10 or 9's good.
Right, right.
So it just feels so close, and I go ahead and call. I could
Right.
probably literally do every option. Even
Right.
bluffing's probably okay.
Right.
But we miss, and I should probably consider bluffing, but
Yeah.
I'm not brave enough.
Dapo, shout out to
Yeah.
Dapo.
I mean, he played the hand great.
Right. We were talking about this at Starbucks, where like the way you played it is just like, oh, you crush you, and you potentially could have played a very large pot too had you c bet. Right?
Yeah, if I see bet, or if he bets the flop and I had chosen a check raise, I don't
Right.
know if I would have.
Yeah.
A lot of times the stuff I do is just random and what I feel like in the moment.
Right. Right. No, I mean it's definitely
Yeah.
something to consider. So here it's folded to the small blind. You have ace queen off. Of course raise, and Dapo's got threes.
Actually get a bigger raise in too.
Yeah. This that's why I was saying your raise size is like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean here I just don't. It's gonna be tough to play opposition. I'm pretty happy if they
Right.
fold pre.
Of course, yeah, it's a lot
And-
of dead money. I think that's very underrated.
Yeah.
Just taking uncontested pots.
Oh, for sure.
John Sin King 9 in
Every-
the straddle.
I think everything looks normal pre, and then
Yeah, everything looks normal pre. And this is just a tough a tough normal situation when you have
Yeah.
two big cards and then the card under your bottom card, in this case a jack to your queen hits, then you're like, oh, you could just
it
be
gets a lot better on this turn though.
right.
I think it's like because I'm probably gonna bluff with some tens and I'm probably gonna bet jack. It's really credible that I'm just gonna have a king here a ton.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
King, queen, ace, king are gonna be really common for me to
Sure.
check.
And then John is just like, what am I doing here? And
Yeah, and it's just a spot. I think his spot's like one of those annoying ones where right now it's easy call, but like
yeah.
you're like
What do you do in the future?
You're calling and you're like, I really hope this guy doesn't bet big on the middle.
It was so brutal if at 10 hits you would just like took everything.
Oh my god, that would have. The way I ran that day, I'm surprised it didn't.
Right, you ran pretty good. Play good, run good, it's except get outplayed by Dapo by jacks.
Yeah. I think it's tough to for me to not have a hand here. Like I would really struggle to think of. I guess I could have like 6-5,
Yeah.
but it's really tough. So I think if I check like what would he ever bluff with? So
Right. So you can't induce a bluff, and it's for value, but you're most likely not going to get called. And Johnson has to consider you're turning something with no or little showdown value into a bluff that
Yeah,
beats a
just
king.
give them a price. My idea is just give them a price that's the most annoying with a king.
Right. And,
Yeah.
we know what happened. Well, maybe the people watching this the first time don't know what happens, but Johnson makes a good laydown. Then
Yeah.
again, he also loses to any legitimate king as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just his spot is just annoying because it's like you're facing such a good price, but
Right.
it's yeah. Like
Do you
that,
think it's so close that it's probably like it doesn't even matter
yeah,
which way? It's not so much of an error to call. Because I say that on broadcast a lot. I'm just like, I'm like, first of all, it's hard. We don't want to bang bang the people, out there because one, it's their money. Two, we know from watching the screen, you guys see so much more than we see on the screen. Like when you're there in
oh
person.
yeah,
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we can miss, like being on screen. And I've played on around 100 episodes, so I'm just like, I know this. And sometimes when I'm on the screen, I'm like, oh, I can only see this like
well,
limited view.
and to be fair, it's really frustrating if you let me bluff full this small size.
Right. Yeah.
If I just have like 5 high and I'm bluffing, you're just like,
Yeah.
man, I can't believe I just let him win when he
Right.
like it costs you nothing. You only have to win like 10, 15,
Good
20%
fold
of the time.
by Johnson, and of
Yeah.
course you're slightly frustrated that you didn't get
Oh
paid
yeah,
there because
I want the call.
yeah, of course if he's tanking that long, sometimes you get tank slow rolled, you're like, and he calls it like,
Oh yeah, I've had that.
bottom two. No, I'm just kidding. But
I had my friend had an epic one that happened to him. He got like tank slow rolled, but then it turned out to be a reverse slow roll.
so what do you
like,
mean?
so my friend had pocket threes on like, I think the board was Jack 8-3, Jack some called. It was a king. That's what
Okay.
it was. Yeah, and he shoves the river, and this guy goes in the tank for like 3 minutes, and he's like, "Man, I have a full house." My friend's just like, "Well, this sucks." Right?
Yeah,
And the
because
guy's like,
he has the nut low full house.
yeah, he has
Okay.
threes on
Yeah.
3-8 Jack, and he just keeps tanking. The guy's like, I have a full house. I just think you have King Jack. Like, this is so sick. And finally, he's like, I just can't fold this hand. And he calls. My friend's like, rolls his eyes, flips over his hands, like, you got it, man. The guy just throws his hand in the muck.
Wow.
So he's just sitting there on the bibble, just lying that he has
Yeah.
a full house. But
I
then,
mean that happens. Yeah.
but then chooses to call anyway. It was just funny. My friend was so annoyed when he got called, and then it was like,
Right.
oh, cool.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that's the thing. It's like, I'm so used to on-camera stuff that I just can't BS anymore.
Yeah.
And I was playing with Jerry Fang outside in PLO, and I just like knew he had it one hand. I only had trips and I had weak kicker, so he flop. It was 10-6-2. He had 6-2, and turn was 6. I had 4-5-6-7 or something like that. And then he check raised me. I'm just like. And like, Jerry's a very competent player. He's capable of bluffing, and like I have the full house draw. I didn't think he had, tens. I think he would more have 10. It was blind versus blind,
Yeah.
check. So I would think he more has 10-6 than tens. And I just didn't feel like he had tens. So I just called, and then the river's like a jack of spades, so I can't beat a flush either.
Yeah.
And then he just like value bets me. I'm just like, I just like no I'm beat. And I just like, I didn't give a speech that like, oh, but he basically had like second nut bottom boat. Or yeah, second bottom boat, and I'm just like, I just can't beat anything. But I just
Yeah.
like paid him off then because he's a competent player. So yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that's like a different dimension when you start playing on camera.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Has it changed you any? Like, have you been recognized?
Not too much. I'm kind of, I just usually do what I feel is best. So not too much has changed from me playing on there. I guess if anything, maybe seeing some stuff other people do, if like it affects the way I play. But I thought everyone in the game played pretty well, so didn't have anything specific to be like, oh, I'm going to own that guy later.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just like, when you get a seed, it's like an official thing. Like,
Yeah.
hope, if you commit, you show up, and hopefully, like, there have been cases where people dodge, but it's like, really, you're just doing it for camera and not so much like
Yeah.
the exact dollar amount. So
Yeah. It is fun to play big though.
Yeah.
I do have the competitive DJ part of me that
Oh, no.
the bigger I'm playing, the more fun I'm having.
Ask Sean Snyder. Back then, we
Yeah.
fired up too. But like you said, back then it was a different era. People threw around money and butt heads so much more, and now they're just like,
Yeah, people are so cautious now.
right, and
Kind of hate it.
it was a different era back then. I don't know what to say. All right, well, glad to have you, and hopefully you'll come back to Live at the Bike and we're
Yeah.
gonna see your chops, and this thing is like we're gonna watch how your poker career grows, and even your
We'll
life
see.
grows. This show's about just like real people, and poker is just a part of like all of us. It's
Yeah.
not like the entire thing. So when people don't see a player on for a while, they're like, "Oh, busto." It's like, "Oh, we have real life things to do."
Oh yeah, I think that happened after the summer.
Didn't play for a
I
while.
went no, I just went back to San Diego. So I'd been like living in Orange County,
Yeah.
and my lease was up, and I decided to go back home for a while. And then like I was like looking at getting a new place. Like I just got one in Coles, but like a month ago. But I was stayed with my parents for a month, and I'm sure that everyone thought I was completely out of money.
And the thing is, like, well, back then, if you were playing big and you play smaller, it
Yeah.
really was like you got beat up.
Yeah.
In this era, like, everyone plays like a wide range. Like, you
Yeah.
and Sean Snyder play like very small stakes big
Yeah.
O, and you're playing 1 and 200.
Well, Sean and I are like the foremost red chip players. I don't think Sean and I have lost a hand. We have like a whole joke. The two of us might be the two most losing players at 10-25 in Ocean's history.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to red chip,
Yeah.
we flop a set once every 5 hands.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's always you always run good at the lower stakes, right?
The amount of sets I've flopped at red chip games is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of poker.
Yeah.
All right. Well, glad to have you on, and
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah. Well, do you have anything to shout out, like your social medias or?
Nah, no
Not
one
really.
my social media is just me spouting politics. No one wants to read it.
Ooh. Well, they might want to read it and fire back. but-
Yeah, please no.
I had some stuff to throw you under the bus that Sean told me about, but we're not going to do that. We're going to save that for other stuff, and he's already laughing because he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but-
Sean has a lot on me.
Okay, guys, take it easy.
All right, see ya.